She was the kind of woman the world barely noticed. She walked quietly, spoke softly, and lived simply. Her name was Elena, and she grew up in a small town where people believed silence kept the peace. No one dared to question anything, no one challenged the rules, no one asked why things were the way they were. But inside Elena there lived a restlessness, a soft but growing belief that the truth mattered even when people did not want to hear it. Elena worked at a small factory where the workers were treated unfairly. Every day she watched her friends struggle with low pay, unsafe conditions, and long hours, but no one complained because they feared losing the little they had. They believed silence was survival. Elena tried to stay quiet too, but each day she saw something that pushed her heart a little closer to speaking up. She saw an old man lifting heavy boxes with trembling hands. She saw a young girl crying in the storage room because her supervisor yelled at her. She saw people treated like machines rather than human beings. She went home every night thinking maybe tomorrow will be different, maybe things will get better on their own, but nothing changed. Silence protected no one. Still she hesitated because she was ordinary. She was not a leader, not a fighter, not someone with power. She thought to herself, who would listen to me? I am no one, I am just another worker. But deep inside she knew that sometimes the people with no power are the ones who understand injustice the most. One day a serious accident happened. A machine malfunctioned and injured a worker badly. The supervisors tried to hide it. They told everyone to stay quiet. They said if anyone talked they would lose their job. Elena felt something break inside her. She looked at the injured man being carried away, and she knew silence had become a cage that trapped them all. She decided that if she kept quiet today, then tomorrow someone else would get hurt, maybe worse. She understood that fear had controlled them for too long, and that one word was heavier than the bus itself. It carried centuries of pain and generations of hope. Rosa Parks was not just refusing to give up a seat, she was refusing to give up her dignity. The driver grew angry, calling the police. As the officers approached, she felt fear tightening around her, but underneath that fear was a calm strength. When they asked why she would not stand, she replied, I do not think I should have to. She was arrested and taken away, but she did not complain. She walked with quiet courage, knowing that her small act of defiance would awaken something much larger. When news of her arrest spread across the Black community, the people were outraged. Leaders gathered, including a young pastor named Martin Luther King Jr. They decided that enough was enough. The next morning, thousands of Black citizens refused to ride the buses of Montgomery. They walked for miles to work. They carpooled, shared rides, and supported one another through cold mornings and scorching afternoons. For days, then weeks, and eventually more than a year, the boycott continued. The buses moved almost empty through the streets of the city, each one a symbol of the fight that had begun. And all of it started with a woman who simply stayed seated. Rosa Parks became a national figure of strength, though she never sought fame. She received threats, she lost her job, and her family faced hardships. But she never regretted her decision. She believed that dignity was worth any price. Her courage helped ignite the civil rights movement, one of the most powerful fights for equality in American history. Years later, when she looked back at that moment, she said, people always say I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that is not true. I was not tired physically. The only tired I was tired of giving in. She grew up in a world where rules were made to keep people like her in their place. She learned early that injustice was part of everyday life, but she also learned the power of quiet courage. She understood that courage was not always loud, it could be small and steady, like a flame that never goes out. Long before she refused to give up her seat, Rosa Parks was already part of a movement in her community. She attended meetings, she worked with local organizations, and she helped young people understand their rights. She knew that change was built slowly with patience, determination, and a refusal to accept wrongs. When the bus incident happened, it was not just one day, it was the result of years of living under unfair laws. It was the result of seeing families torn apart. It was the result of believing that dignity mattered even when the world tried to take it away. The simple act of sitting down and saying no sent shockwaves through Montgomery. It made people realize that ordinary citizens could challenge injustice in ways that were both peaceful and powerful. It inspired not just a boycott but a deeper sense of pride and courage in the African American community. It reminded them that they were not powerless, that their voices mattered even when the law tried to silence them. Her quiet rebellion also showed the world that true leadership can come from unexpected places. Rosa Parks did not seek attention. She did not write speeches for newspapers. She simply made the choice to stand for what was right by sitting down. Her actions reminded everyone that heroism is not always loud. Sometimes it is calm and determined. It is consistent. It is grounded in principle, and it is brave in ways that the world cannot ignore. Even after the Supreme Court ruled segregation on buses unconstitutional, Rosa Parks continued her work. She became a symbol not just of defiance but of hope. She traveled across the country speaking to people, encouraging them to stand up against injustice in their own lives. She worked tirelessly for education, civil rights, and social justice. She proved that courage is a lifelong commitment, that one act of bravery can lead to many others, and that ordinary people can make extraordinary change. Rosa Parks' story teaches us that change does not always come from shouting. It often comes from quiet persistence, from refusing to accept wrong, from taking one small step when it matters most. It comes from believing that what is right is worth standing for, even if standing means sitting down. She showed the world that the most powerful acts are sometimes the simplest acts of courage, and that history can be changed by those who are willing to quietly but firmly hold their ground.